Well, Razorback fans, you got yourself a huge portal addition for the Razorback basketball team. Jeremiah Wilkinson is a hog. Let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors, the host of the #1 Razorback podcast in all the world. And thank you as always for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. I'm going to be honest with all of you. I already recorded the Locked On Razorbacks podcast in its entirety, talking Razorback football, which we'll still get into, as well as the basketball and everything, which may not be the most up-to-date thing. But I had to go back and re-record at least the first segment and talking about the big news that happened right as soon as I got done. So bear with me. It may be a little bit unorthodox as far as the formatting of it, but it was huge news, a huge get for Razorback basketball. Jeremiah Wilkinson, the guard out of Georgia, 6'1", 185 pounds, going to be an upcoming junior, has officially committed and signed to play for the Razorbacks coming out of the transfer portal. Now, it's funny because everybody was talking about the player of Somto being the guy that you wanted to get from Georgia. Well, you got the guy who was the leading scorer on the team instead. 17.5 points this guy averaged last year. 17.5 points. He had 2 rebounds, roughly about 2 assists, shot 41% from the field. And also from three-point land was extremely efficient as well, as he was able to take care of business and get into that mid-30% range, shooting 34%. Now, some of you are going to look at this, or 35.5%, excuse me. Now, some of you are going to look at this and be like, okay, he's kind of a smaller guard, whatever. You got yourself a bona fide dude, a bona fide shooter, a bona fide scorer, a guy that can hit it from all different types of places. He's got great athleticism with his dunking capabilities. And he was a guy that hit a ton of threes last year. In fact, his averages on the season, he hit 2.5 threes a game. That was his average of makes. Now, he shot 7 per game, but he had an average of 2.5 makes. And I don't care what anybody says. The biggest thing about this is that you got a guy who played in the conference that you played in last year in the SEC, and he's on your team next year, who led the team in scoring, who is a starter. Here you go. So I'm pumped by this. You know, I'm excited about this because I'm going to talk about later with also the addition of Cooper Bowser. Now, that was a nice get, but this is a needle mover. This is one that kind of showcases, all right, so this is real now. This is serious. There's no longer these stupid rumors that are getting thrown around like, Arkansas doesn't have any money. They're broke boys. No. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. There is a lot more to it than just that. So now you have the Razorbacks that are in a great position, and getting a guy like this, it's going to mean a lot. Now, some of you are probably wondering, what does this mean for the Malik Thomas angle? Well, thing is that Malik Thomas this doesn't change anything as far as him coming back. He's still in a position to come back, and he still could come back. They're not going to be stealing each other's minutes or anything like that. This guy, Jeremiah Wilkinson, would be in a position where he'd probably come off the bench as be your 6th man. It's not a bad thing. But considering that you have JSJ being your point guard, and Malik Thomas for sure is going to start, those are going to be 2 of your guards starting, this could be your guy coming off bench, a JD Notae type, you know? He could be that dude. And so because of that fact, I'm so excited. Imagine that. Imagine having a player on your Razorback basketball team that is so good and everything, that he's coming off the bench. He was the best player at a previous SEC school. Could have gone to a bunch of different places. Probably could have been a perennial starter and big-time player at so many different places. And there is a very good chance that this guy is coming off your bench next year. And imagine the type of offensive firepower you're going to have. If you have that, if you have JSJ, Malik Thomas, and Jeremiah Wilkinson as your guards next year, man, now not to do the Malik Thomas thing. Actually, I think I have that one. Yeah, I'm going to be doing that a lot because that's nasty. That's salty. That is big time, winning time type of guard play that you could have with a true freshman All-American, a McDonald's All-American guy, lottery pick caliber, a All-American caliber player in Malik Thomas, and then a bona fide dude at the other guard position. This is awesome. I'm loving this. I know you got to get more players. I know that's not a guarantee Malik Thomas is coming back, and you got to do some other things to work around, but it's about improving. Did you get better? And the answer is yes. Yes, you got better. You absolutely got better. Because in this position, You have it to where if you're looking at it from this perspective, it's about who did you lose and who are you improving upon it. Cooper Bowser is what you did. Yeah, you improved upon it. Even if, because he's going to be your like fourth big man. Considering you didn't even have a fourth big man last year, you've already improved at that spot. But if this guy and Jeremiah Wilkinson is going to be the guy that replaces DJ Wagner, which I love DJ, big fan of DJ, always will be a fan of DJ. If this is the guy that's going to be taking his spot and his role, yeah, I think you can say you probably improved. You're batting 1,000. You're 2 for 2 when it comes to your portal gets as far as improving the situation from a year ago. Now, there may be some spots that you do or don't approve on. We'll see what they do with that 4 spot. Obviously, Malik Ewan is still up in the air. He could come back. What is JSJ's role going to be? What about a guy like JJ Andrews or Abdu Torre? Like, what? Those are all questions that'll be asked and everything. But I am just so pumped up for this type of get. And I think they're not done yet. This is also one that getting a player like this is going to turn on a lot of radars, and you're moving in the shadows. Cal's over hanging out in Lexington. He's not even on campus. I don't even know if this kid was on campus for a visit, but if he wasn't, you got all these other coaches that are doing whatever they can to try to make it work and getting these guys on campus, rolling out the red carpet, while Cal's over here just hanging out, taking a cruise across the country, not even on campus, and they're still finding ways to get big-time players like this. So shout out to Cal. Shout out to the Razorback basketball team. Huge get, and I can't wait to see what the rest of it holds. But we'll get into some football talk. We'll talk about Cooper Bowser as well and a lot more. So stay with us here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Welcome into Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors, the host of the #1 Razorback podcast in all the world. And thank you as always for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. Happy Wednesday to all of you out there. It's been a busy one, hasn't it? Because we're going to try to talk about some Razorback basketball and get into some of the mix there when it comes to the latest in transfer portal. Had an addition early yesterday. In fact, right around the time my Locked On came out. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well as the future, and then get into something about the football side of things and a player that got added and what it means for Razorback football. But I wanted to start today's podcast with the quarterback position, which I know we've talked about. And many of you may be looking at this and hearing this and saying, well, John, we've talked about the Razorback quarterbacks already. I want to know more about the D-line. I want to know more about the linebackers. I want to know more about safeties. I want to know more about the O-line. Whatever it is. And you know what? You're right. It's something that I can understand if you're interested in. I can understand if it's something that is crucial to you, which it is crucial. To be good at every single position. But because of my criticisms and maybe my concerns that I've had at times with this spring with the quarterback situation, I keep going back to that well. Because we all know it's the most important position on the field. And we also know that you got a true battle going on. And we also know that you're over halfway through spring. And you also know that you want to have a quarterback that stands out and is going to be able to lead this team to success. Well, I got a chance to go to practice once again yesterday. And I'm going to be honest, folks. It wasn't great. Now, before anybody starts yelling at me, getting upset with me, or anything, I'm going to clarify these comments by saying and giving you these examples. I can only go off of what I have seen. And when we have a chance to watch these practices, most of the time they are doing individual drills, and the times we can actually film and watch. And then we may get just a little bit of a drive or two by the ones and twos going against each other, and that's it. So the body of evidence and the body of work to be able to really just make a judgment call fully on the quarterback position, much less any position on the field, is really difficult to do. I'm just being honest. We can only go off of what we know and what we've seen, and that's all I'm going to base this on. They could be a completely different quarterback in real practice, and then the things that we don't get to see, and everything may be great, grand, and wonderful. And I really am hopeful that that's the case. I would love to be wrong about this. But folks, I went to the practice yesterday, and individual drills were fine. It is what it is. You just get to see some regular passes and whatnot. But when the quarterbacks ran out there, you had A.J. Hill run with the ones to start, and then K.J. Jackson run with the twos. A.J. Hill's first pass down the middle of the field should have been intercepted. It was high, but the defensive back couldn't come up with the catch. But it should have been intercepted. Wasn't a great throw. Well, then you had a couple of nickel and diamond passes, a couple passes decently from AJ after that, out to the side and everything. But they were either in the middle or to the right of the field. It's not just this practice, but it's been a lot of these practices that if you've had a chance to see some of the highlights or any of the things that we've been able to see, I don't know if it's just coincidence or whatnot, but A.J. Hill struggles throwing to his left. If there's a side, it could be the exact same sideline play that it would be over here to the right, but when he throws to the left, he sails it. He's not as accurate. Again, it could just be a coincidence, or there could be actually something there to maybe it's not comfortable for him. Maybe he's just not good at it. Maybe that's what's kind of hindering it a little bit. Don't really know, not really sure, but just in the times that I've been able to watch him so far this spring, that has been a very consistent thing. Not being able to throw to the left. Now, we didn't get to see a whole lot of deep balls thrown by either of the quarterbacks, so we can't really dive into that. But either way, they had a couple of drives here, or a couple of plays here on this drive. Was unable to come up with the plays there at the end, and then the drive ended with no points. I mean, again, it's not just like a full-on scrimmage. They're trying to work on some things and work on some plays. Well, then K.J. Jackson comes in with the twos, and they're going up against the two defense. So, first play. In shotgun, he takes the snap, looks downfield, almost looks like a very similar or an identical play of what A.J. Hill ran for the first time when he ran out there. And the throw was high, and it was intercepted by freshman Tay Lockett. Shout out to him, friend of the show. He came on my Locked On a long time ago. But it was picked off by him. Place goes crazy, goes nuts, all of that. And that was it. That was the end of the scrimmage. That was all we got to see. There was no follow-up to it or anything. Got to see some punts, which were great. Much better. They separated out into their little teams that they had, the 6 teams that they do, and they had some fun with like throwing footballs against trash cans, just kind of, because it was at the end of practice, by the way. Because normally, I should have brought that up first. Normally, we get to see the very beginning of practice, but this time it was later in the day. And so we got to see the end of practice. So before anybody says they should be working on other things, this was just the end of practice, kind of the final send-off. So there you have it. That's what I got to see yesterday. And I got to see this a few other times. Not to say it's always been bad. Not to say that there hasn't been some moments that have looked really good. But folks, it's hard for me to sit here with a straight face, with full confidence, feeling great about the quarterback position. Now, I will say on the positive side of things, I've been really impressed with a lot of this team. So don't get it twisted. Don't feel like I'm just trying to point out the negative, because I'm not. I've been really impressed by the wide receivers. I've talked about those guys. I've been really impressed by some of the secondary guys. I've been really impressed by Waller even yesterday. He had a great practice, had some great plays, and a lot of hype there from the coaching staff. I've even been impressed by some of the running backs in this and liking the different dynamic that they bring. So again, don't feel like I'm just trying to find the one negative thing and point out, because I'm so positive about stuff. But we all know this is the quarterback position. This is the most important position on the field. It matters. And it matters to be able to get better and to be able to develop and all that, which these two guys, or one of these guys at least, may very well do it. They could just one day wake up and get it and catch fire and all be great. It could be tomorrow. It could be in the spring game. It could be in summer workouts. It could be in fall camp. It could be game 1. Like, it could happen. So I'm still looking at that and still trying to look at it in that lens and that perspective, because the body of work and the sample size is so small. There's a lot, so much that we have not been able to have a chance to see just because that we don't have the access to it. I mean, it could be where we just see 5% of what these quarterbacks have been able to do, and the other 95% is great. It could be, for all I know. But again, just basing it on what I've seen, it's a concern. it hasn't gotten better. I haven't seen anything directly, or at least anything consistent enough to make me feel confident that Arkansas's quarterback position is going to pick up right where it left off and be just as good, if not better, than what it was a year ago. And it is concerning. I think that there's enough on this offense to cover up a few of those issues that may arise. Like I mentioned, the rushing attack, I think it could be really good if everybody stays healthy. I think you got really gifted wide receivers. I even think the tight ends may be undervalued a little bit. The offensive line, I think, just from what we've seen, has done a fairly good enough job. They haven't been just getting blown up. Still have their plays here and there, but overall, I still feel pretty confident that they can get it done. But man, this quarterback situation is it's alarming. And also, I want to throw this in with Ramsey. He's a guy who's had a great offense, statistically speaking, especially every year. Every year when he was at Memphis, he had a great, statistically solid offense. And the guy knows what he's doing. This staff knows what they're doing when it comes to putting together a really solid offense. It's just a matter of what is that offense going to look like? What's going to be the identity of it? Is it going to be just, hey, let's play this into the rushing attack and try to milk the clock and try to keep the ball out of the other team's hands and do it that way? Hey, if it works, go for it. Or is it going to be trying to base itself on the idea of not giving up big plays or not having some big plays, but not making major mistakes? Is it going to be something to that extent? Hey, just don't throw interceptions. Don't be careless with the ball, which again is important. So we can all sit here and say, yeah, it's important, duh. But again, I just don't know what the identity is going to be. I don't know what the approach is going to be. And maybe that's something we don't really find out until the season goes on. But I say all of that to say once again, it's spring. We've had very few opportunities to see these quarterbacks play. It hasn't all been awful or bad. There's been some positives in the quarterback position, like their athleticism, their arm strength, all of that. But when it comes to the basics, when it comes to completing passes downfield, being effective with their decision-making, and finding that kind of consistency in leading drives down the field, based on what we've seen, hasn't been good. I'm hopeful, though. I'm hopeful that maybe they can turn it around and figure it out. But I just wanted to relay that to all of you in case you were wondering what I saw. That's what I saw. But we have another practice happening tomorrow before the Razorback baseball game. Hey, if the quarterbacks end up balling out and looking great in that one, I'm going to be the happiest man ever, and I'm going to come to you and say, hey, quarterback's looking good. They looked good yesterday. I'll be sure to bring it to you that way. But where it stands right now, I just have some concerns. But, hey, listen, what's Razorback sports without concerns, especially when it comes to the transfer portal and John Calipari? Am I right? Well, they had some news yesterday, but what's the next step? We'll talk about that. Stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, the NHL playoffs are here, where every shift matters, every moment is intense, and the pressure is always at its highest, just like with Razorback baseball as well. Well, just like the performance that matters on the ice or on the field, it matters off the ice and off the field too. That's where Rugiet comes into play. Rugiet offers treatments designed to help you get ready and stay ready when it matters the most. Their top option, Rugiet Ready, combines clinically proven ingredients in a simple mint that dissolves underneath your tongue. It works fast, often in about 15 minutes, and can last up to 36 hours. And they also offer Go Long, designed to help both performance and control. It's all about confidence and feeling like yourself once again. So head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off Rugiet Performance Medicine for Men. Okay, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Hey, basketball, transfer portal, am I right or am I right? Always the fascination of all of you and what's going on and not crashing out and not getting too involved in it and all this great stuff. Well, yesterday morning, A lot of you may have woke up to some news of Arkansas adding a player from the transfer portal, which it's not news by this point in time. It's been going for nearly 24 hours. So I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because I'm sure you've done all your research and everything. But Cooper Bowser, or as some people say, Koopa the Troopa. Get it? Yeah. Bowser. Sorry, I'll stop. Either way, he's going to have one season of eligibility left. He's the big man from Furman. 6'11", 215 pounds. And he averaged just a little bit under 14 points and 6 rebounds per game for Furman this past year. Did not play essentially the month of January due to an injury, but when he came back, had some nice games. Arguably the second best player on the Furman team that played in the NCAA tournament, did lose to UConn, but he earned a SoCon All-Tournament first team nod first play because he was what was huge in leading them to the NCAA tournament by winning their conference tournament in the SoCon. So there you go. You got somebody. Right? Right. I'm going to be honest. Like, this was a thing that everybody was, I won't say freaking out about, but they were wondering, okay, so what role is this guy going to be? Is this the big man that everybody was looking forward to? Is this all it is? Is this the only thing that they got going on? No, and no. Folks, this is a big man who will probably be your fourth option at big, and that's it. This is not some sort of conspiracy of like, okay, well, this is who they were after all along and that's it. No, it's nothing like that. This is a guy that's going to help your team be able to alleviate somebody who may be in foul trouble or whatever it is. And I'm great with it. I could not be happier with it, actually. It's so awesome. I love something like that because of the fact that you have more work to do and he could be a good complementary piece. But you also have to understand, folks, like, we all want the best players. Everybody wants the best players. You want to be able to just go out there and say, hey, we want the 1, 2, 3, 4 guys in the transfer portal all going to come to the same school and all be happy with it and put together a national championship. Sure, but that's not how it works. The higher the transfer portal rank into individual players, the more so that there's going to be an understanding or an expectation that those guys are going to be the ones that get the ball the most. The offense is going to run through them. They're going to be the superstars. They're going to have to be paid more. And if those guys look at a place like Arkansas, especially the bigs, and see that John Calipari and the Arkansas team and offense is not going to run through the big man, it's not going to be something that they have to run through the big man, guess what they're going to do? They're not going to go to Arkansas because they see Jordan Smith Jr. They see Malik Thomas potentially coming back. They see Billy Richmond. They see even a Malik Ewan, assuming that he can come back. Guys who are offensive pieces. That's not even to mention the Abdou Toure or J.J. Andrews. Who knows what they're going to do offensively. But the point is, the identity and then the main thing about this team and the main progress that they're going to make about this team is not going to be based solely on, oh, well, get the big man down there, feed him down low, and he's going to lead the team. No. He's not going to be the feature. So because of that fact, that's why a player like this with Cooper Bowser is so important. Because you got to find that right balance of somebody who's willing to play their role. Yes, they want to get money. Yes, they want NIL. Yes, they want to play. But they also understand that this is a circumstance that could benefit them by taking on a particular role. And that role being something that is important and can be utilized and can be something that can help you out when the NCAA tournament really gets roaring for Arkansas. And that's what this is. And that's all I'm taking it as. But the idea that's like, okay, well, you just got to get all these big men that were averaging 20 and 9. It's not the case. You need defense. You need bodies. You need able sizes. But you can't afford to get somebody in here and overpay or promise them anything where they walk in and they feel lied to because they're not the man. They're not the best player on the team. Or even in some cases may not even be the best top 3 players on the team. You got to be able to sell that to them. And so I'm fine with this. But what's next? What do you do from here? What opens up? I know that there are some players that are in the mix that people have brought up and players that are going to be taking some visits and getting some interest from Arkansas and all of that. Some of them guards, some of them some bigs and some forwards and everything. Wouldn't surprise me at all if there was another announcement today of some sort of piece of news. It seems like every day this week so far we've had some news, so maybe we'll get lucky and have that again here. But I just hope everybody understands that there is a level to this. There's a way that you need to view this through a certain lens to where you can't get greedy and can't get upset because it's not the name player that you want right here, right now. I like this kid, and I think he'll be a complimentary piece, but it would have been a completely different animal if Arkansas would have had the big name, big player, big man down low that they may end up getting going first and committing first and then following it up with somebody like Cooper Bowser. Because then it'd be like, hey, we already got our big guy. This is just a complimentary piece. Where when this guy ends up committing first, guess what? Everyone's like, oh, geez. Well, this is not good. He's going to be our big. He's our main guy. It's just not the right way to look at it. It's not really that fair. So let's see how it plays out. I know I keep saying that, but that's honestly, truly the main thing. And Cal's a genius when it comes to keeping things tight-lipped. I don't know how he does it. I'm impressed by it. But hopefully he continues on to do it. Well, there was a couple of players that were added, or I should say one player that was added in particular dealing with the Razorback football team. You may not care about it, but I think it is pretty telling, but we'll talk about that. Stay with us here on Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, if you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where'd all my money go? Well, you're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can be overwhelming pretty fast. That's where Rocket Money comes into play, helping you take control of your finances all in one place. Well, how does Rocket Money do that for you? Well, it tracks all of your subscriptions in one spot and help cancel the ones that you don't need in just a few taps. It automatically categorizes your spending so you can actually see where your money is going. And you can see budgets, get alerts, and stay on top of upcoming bills. It just makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/lockedon. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. All right, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I want to remind everybody to, if you want to get Locked On Razorbacks ad-free, do the Everydayer Club. And plus, all members-only Discord access, so you can join now today at lockedonrazorbacks.supercast.com. Okay, so we know that the transfer portal and the side of things for Razorback basketball is really what it's about. And I get it, totally, understand it, respect it. But there is a little bit of some Razorback football that actually had an addition to the portal, from the portal. Cal Poly punter Jesse Ehrlich. Let's try to punter. He has signed with Arkansas. He won't be here till May, but he averaged 43 yards per punt in 2025 and had the long of 66 yards. That's right, a punter. And some of you are probably saying, John, why in the world should we care about this? Well, here's just my little 2 cents into the matter. You don't add somebody like this, a specialist like this, unless you were confident in what you already had. It'd be one thing if you added a wide receiver because of Jaylen Brown's situation. Who knows? It may be. Or it may be a different thing if you added a depth piece at a spot you didn't have a whole lot of depth. You know, whatever. It could be linebacker or something. Like, it would make sense. You need bodies, you need scout team, you need all that. But when you add a punter, that, to me, shows that you don't feel good about what you got. And going and getting somebody like this at this point in time, I mean, listen, he had a good average, could be great. Makes you wonder, like, what was the situation of why he was not being looked at, or maybe he's just waiting for something. But anytime that you have a player get added this way in football in the spring, especially since the spring window is not a thing anymore when it comes to the transfer portal and football, I find that fascinating. And so you got to be on the lookout for that. Now, I got to see the punters yesterday. They look better. The punts were much, much better yesterday. But I think I talked about it either on, I guess it was on Tuesday. It was Tuesday yesterday. Last Thursday. Days are all mixed up. Last Thursday, when I saw the punt team get out there, it was horrendous. So bad that Coach Lunsford was ripping them a new one. So maybe that's what led to this. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. But something like this is important. Punter is important. And hopefully this ends up being a good one. We'll see. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter at John Nabors Show for any questions, comments, concerns you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. See you then.